go over to the last presentation of today, we have really 20 minutes left. I'm really, I don't know what we can do. Maybe we can do another part tomorrow and start.
Maybe we do it tomorrow.
The whole thing. But in the thing is, tomorrow we have already 3 other practices.
I don't know I don't know anything about the schedule, but it would be.
Do you want to do like your part today, and then maybe we leave it and we do it in the morning, or we do it?
Our parts are at the moment they're connected together. In the demonstration, I could do the demonstration now, and we can do the background tomorrow. But I don't know what to cut out. We really planned this 30 minutes.
We're going to keep the conference sheet.
We're going to do it 15 minutes.
No, that's too short to do everything.
We only have 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes.
Yeah, but then we have to cut out a piece. I mean, not something.
Look, since it's mostly the
Even
conference,
if you did.
since it's mainly the conference people that we have, we can do it during the day.
Anytime. I don't know. Just tell us when.
I mean, if we had lots of audience, I would say we'll try to do it now, but it's mainly the conference people.
It doesn't need to be more or less.
I don't know. Do you want to show something since it's set up, or continue tomorrow with
Maybe do the demo. I mean, the particles.
Let somebody else try, and then call it a day.
And then tomorrow more explaining and try it again.
My 6-minute thing.
You can do it. You can do that. I mean, test the demo and the 6 minutes.
Good, and then good. That's a good way to do it. We can do that in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, an announcement. Since there's no time today for the full demonstration and lecture of Marcello and what's going to happen today, that part of it will happen tomorrow. Today we will see. And now we will have just a more brief demo by Robert, I think. Yes?
Well, we're still doing it.
Wait. So, thank you very much.
Good. So the first thing is we're making a demonstration in this area. So to see it, you need to go over here. So you don't need to bring your chair. You can stand. It's going to be very quick. Or you can bring your chair if you're lazy. But you have to go over there. Everybody goes there. Sorry, I need to. So again, I'm Robert Wechsler, and the company is called Palindrome, and we're making a device called the MotionComposer. It turns movement into music. What I'm going to show you is not the MotionComposer itself. We weren't able to bring it with us. It's still in development. The prototype is not ready. But it gives you a taste of some of the possibilities. This is one of the musical environments that will be part of the MotionComposer. How many people were watching this, and how many people were watching me?
I was watching you.
That's okay. I don't need you to answer. It's just a question. Normally I like to do this before I dance. But something about screens, they really suck us in.
What if you do a duet with somebody out there?
Sure. A lot of questions. Yes?
Is it harmonized? If your movements are in harmony?
Does that matter?
At the moment, no, but the version that will be in the MotionComposer, yes. That's the quick answer.
So for instance, if you're doing Tai Chi type of hand, push hands,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
two people were moving in concert, would you
Yeah.
have?
Or let me just explain it. There are,
Turn it off?
yeah, maybe. Quick though, I gotta go everything very super quick. So there's 300 samples across the room. Each sample then is about a couple of centimeters long. So if I stand here, I hear one sample, and if I stand here, I'm in the next one. And so one of the tracking, you might have seen it on the screen, it's looking from the center of my body. We call it center X, it's X-axis. And at the moment, it's programmed for one center X, but the MotionComposer will have two. So two people can be tracked, and each of them can choose their samples to trigger. Good. So tomorrow, we'll explain how it works. But for now, I just want to talk about the idea behind it for a few minutes. Because after all, there are many devices that turn movement into music. Yeah. We call them musical instruments. But I wouldn't call this a musical instrument. Why not? Musical instruments are designed for control, careful control. You want to choose, for example, the note you play, you want to choose when you play it, and you want to choose how you play it, very carefully. The MotionComposer makes a lot of these choices for you. So that while it's pretty easy to make a classical musical instrument sound pretty bad, like that one, but it's pretty hard to make it, the MotionComposers will be built to sound pretty good, no matter how you play it. But there's another difference. Musical instruments are generally played with the mouth, the hands, the fingers, sometimes the feet. These are the body's extremities. Dance, it is said, comes from the center of the body. And it's more concerned with shifts of weight, momentum, extension, contraction, angular momentum, these things. So do we want to call our device a dance machine? This also misses the point. So now there's a word I need, and it doesn't exist in the English language. Although interestingly, most languages of the world do have this word. And that is something that refers to both dance and music. Right? In Portuguese, when you say the word capoeira, it refers equally to a music tradition and to a movement tradition. There's actually no term you can think of in English that does that. We have two concepts. But if you put a choreographer into a functional MRI machine and ask him to choreograph in his head, the same parts of the brain light up as when a composer is making music, many of the same parts. So this is my first point. Although we like to think of dance and music as two things that go together well, on the level of human psychology, it's sort of one thing. So what is this thing we have no word for? Is it a feeling? Is it rhythm? Do you think it comes from the heartbeat? You know, most animals have heartbeats, but only humans make music and dance. So this is my second point. Whatever this thing is that I have no word for, it's deeply human. We've been doing it for 50,000 years, probably longer. There's nothing more essential to being a human being than music and dance. Children begin to do it without any instruction whatsoever. It's inside all of us. And yet, on a typical day, we don't tend to think of it as something essential or something important. We think of it as entertaining or fun, but not important like our job or like food. But you know what? It is food. It's food for the soul. Nietzsche said, Ich würde nur an einen Gott glauben, der zu tanzen verstünde. I would only believe in a God who danced. He also said, verloren sein ist der Tag, wo nicht einmal getanzt wurde. The day is lost in which we have not danced at least once. So this is not high-flung philosophy, this is practical advice. So I ask you then, why is it we don't see people dancing in the streets, in train stations, in parks? I do it, but I almost never see anybody else doing it. Why not? This is a serious question. What is it that gets us moving or inhibits us from doing so? I was a professional dancer for 30 years, and I can tell you this is something dancers think a lot about. I consider it a common myth that, or I believe it's a common myth, that dancers are somehow imbued with energy, always jumping around all the time. In fact, they're some of the laziest people I know. It's just that they are experts on the devices, the structures that get you moving and keep you moving all day long. In this society, in this culture, there are not many places to find those structures. Yeah. Dance studios, dance rehearsals, dance classes, sure. Very few people take part, right? Right. Discos, somewhat more. Parties. Fitness studios and gyms. Now I know you think of those as sports, but there's clearly something else going on. They play music constantly, they do it mine, and people are doing these useless and these meaningless repetitive movements, most of which they could do at home. Yeah. So there's something special about that environment, and this is my last point then. Dance and music are intensely social activities. They bring people together. Yeah, nonverbal, rich nonverbal communications. People go to the fitness studio for the social. That's one of the reasons for the social. There's some other, I want to talk about this more, but because I think it's a real important question. So let me review. Dance and music come from a single urge. It's inside every human being. It gets us moving, and it brings people together. It gets us moving, and it brings people together. These last 2 points are important because most health problems of people with and without disabilities, most health problems come from not enough movement and not enough social activity. These lead to obesity and depression, and these lead to other health problems, well-known health problems, which, when treated by doctors, are usually treated with drugs. Doctors don't prescribe dance and music, as far as I know. So I think devices like this have a role to play in breaking unhealthy patterns, particularly for people who, for reasons of mental or physical disability, are less engaged in society than some of us. Good, so there's just one last point I want to make, and it's actually the central theme of Marcello's talk tomorrow, and I just want to quickly introduce it now. And that is, when you make musical sounds directly through your gestures in space, it's not the same as playing a record and dancing to the music. Because this system, this activity, alters our proprioception. Yeah. It extends our perception of ourselves beyond the boundaries of our physical body into the space around us, into the oral environment. Now, when those sounds are beautiful, and when you're convinced that you made them, it's a nice feeling. I mean, some of us know that. It's a special kick. It gives you a feeling of joy and confidence, and it means that once you've experienced it, you want to do it again. If this makes this sound, what does this do? And what does this do? And what does this do? And people start moving. And this process has nothing to do with your mental or physical abilities, because it's based on these primitive instincts that live inside everyone. Okay, that's all for today then. And quick questions, otherwise we're done.
Well, first of all, I think you really touched me with this idea of everybody dancing in the street. No, it was very beautiful, but I was thinking about this idea of movement, that is not the same thing to dance with a record, with a CD, than having this kind of devices. No? And it reminded me, just wanted to say, to this idea of Piaget, no? When the cognitive psychologist, that he defined the movement as a transformation of the perceptual space, right? So when you're moving, you're not only moving, but you're also constructing a reality in the same way that children unveil a curtain and discover the world through the window, no? I think that's something that happens also with this kind of interaction.
In this way, the children develop the mind. If you cannot move, I mean, you work already with, I mean, you were talking less and less.
Well, this is metaphorical.
This is what you were talking about. Less and less, you don't have to do anything. Como decías de la luz y esto.
Sure.
Are you able to distinguish between a fast movement and a slower movement at the same time, so that I could do like very slow on the one part of the body and very fast on the other?
Good question.
You can activate
I
that.
think it's coming in directly because of the spatialization.
Yeah, you can.
So it's different from Antonio's, clearly. I think this is-
We're using, this was not Antonio's software, but we are using it in motion. As everyone knows, sorry. But I'm actually just thinking about your question. I don't know the answer. Let me think about it. It's actually kind of a good question. Do you understand the question? What if
Yeah,
one part of your body is in one
activity.
mode and the other one is kind of in another? I guess the answer has to be yes, because, for example, in the wheelchair environment, I'm going to explain a lot about the technology tomorrow. So I don't really want to talk about it now. But, for example, when I'm in a wheelchair, maybe I can't do very much. Maybe in fact I have limited arm movement. This is kind of my range. So we've made a system, a lot of these people. So we've made a system extra for this gesture. So this arm, let's say I can do this with my right hand, but I can't do it with my left. I can use my left arm to position the place on the keyboard, and I can play the notes with my right. So this can be the place on the keyboard, and this can be the notes I'm playing.
But this is the space, it's not activity.
This is activity, this hand can be activity, and this
then
hand
is
can be
the-
space,
okay.
yes. Yeah.
And because of recognition somehow of the movement, it's within a space which is partitioned, according to what you were explaining earlier, right? Yeah, and by the displacement of the central of the body within the partition of space. Yeah. If I understand what you're explaining. Another question. You were explaining the work in the X.
Right, it's one of our basic things we do a lot of.
Have you obviously combined the different dimensions? Up to 11 or more.
Yeah, sure. Okay, it's 2 minutes. It's another great question. I haven't forgotten. But I also want to respect the limitations we have on this facility. Jaime, if we're actually supposed to leave the building at 9, we better wrap it up. And I will answer your question.
Tomorrow
I'm going to sleep on the, no, yours I got. But I have your answer. And I'll give it to you tomorrow.
I'd like to follow Harmony's suggestion from 1 minute ago. To me, it was a private suggestion. Since it's the connection between the praxis and the theory, which is, I think, there's no real limit between them. But when we are working with the systems, many questions come up which don't when we are just theorizing. So I think we should do more of this as part of our workshop discussions, possibly. So integrate it as much as we can tomorrow.
Sure, we can leave this here.
Yeah.
Can we leave this here?
Yeah.
We'll leave this here and everybody can, we have lots of sounds. That was just one of many.
Choose some moment in which we can
People can
allow
have a chance
a
to
longer
try it.
discussion afterwards, and tomorrow try to give more time to discussions afterwards as
and
well.
play with the body.
Yeah, yeah. and
Maybe,
let
maybe
people
everyone should have to go
Yeah,
through
I
this.
think so. Here.
Yeah.
This is learning also when you do the
So
body.
tomorrow we have a very, very much more heavy schedule than today, because we have the organizational meeting in the morning, which is mostly for co-organizers, but everybody is invited. The thing is, if we finish early with that, I will continue with my presentation straight away, because I couldn't finish it today. in the morning. So I would suggest that everybody comes, unless, well, I don't know, because I was thinking now about this problem for tomorrow.